In this video, I'm going to show you how to bulletproof your Ford 5.4 liter modular engine. And you can see I've got some headers on there, and I've put in a Y-pipe, getting rid of the 180-degree turn exhaust pipe. On the back, you see to the right there, the red hose. Those are coolant adapters on the back of the left and right head. They go in where the 1.25 inch knockout plug is. What those do is they draw water through the head, improving cooling for number 4 and number 8 cylinders, which are known to be hot spots in these engines. And what they do is the water pump pumps water into the head and up into the coolant crossover tube at the front of the engine. You can see on the valve gauge there that there's about 5 pounds at idle. But what it does is it reduces the pressure in your crossover tube because it is drawing water through and out the back of the head and back into the water pump. And it does reduce the amount of coolant flowing through your heater core, but the heat works just fine, so it's not an issue. But having lower pressure in the coolant crossover tube can prevent you from getting leaks at those chronic leak points where the crossover mounts to the head coolant ports. And you see my stainless steel bar there with the all-thread rod that holds the crossover tube on the right side down flat and prevents a chronic leak from appearing there too. So this video is going to show you every trick that I've learned on how to make this engine reliable, preventing coolant leaks, oil leaks, compression leaks. I've had this engine fail in so many different ways, and I think that this time I have got it fixed. So watch the video. It's a long one, but it shows you every single trick to make your engine bulletproof. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment, ask a question, share it if you know someone who has a 5.4 liter engine and needs help. And I can also use your subscriptions if you would like to continue watching the channel and you like this content. All right, I will see you on the next video, and enjoy this video. Okay. Let's see what we get. And cylinder 1 is 190 pounds. But yeah. So I don't really see anything here that indicates gasket failure on this side. But if you look at the gasket, so the top side of it looks like everything is sealed. And if you look at the bottom side of it, you can kind of see where It looks like it may have been leaking a little bit in between passages, but I'm not really seeing an indicator that it was going into the cylinders. Okay. And we'll just take a quick look at here. That's the rear chain guide, and it looks pretty good. It's got, you can kind of see it's got a slot in there, and it's got a tiny bit of wear, about 25 or 30,000 miles worth of wear. And this side here, this is the tensioner side, and I might just go ahead and replace these tensioners or chain guides. It's just a very simple piece of insurance. Air intake, and notice that the hole for the intake is smaller than the opening of the throttle body, so I'm going to change that. I'm looking at the size of the air cleaner, and you see there's the air cleaner filter element here. So there's about the size of the air coming through. Fits like that. But, so I'm looking at the pipe coming into it, which the pipe is situated up here in the grill, and it looks to be smaller than the pipe on the throttle body, the size of the throttle body. It looks a little bit smaller. So I am going to remove this. If you look in here, you can see these 4 tabs in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is what the filter rests up against. So what I'm thinking is I can cut around here and put a larger pipe that will go through there, and get more air coming into the air cleaner. Anything to improve power, I tell you, because this thing is just so underpowered as it is. This is a picture of the engine before I started taking everything apart to get down to the head gaskets. And there is with the intake manifold and valve covers removed. Here I'm looking at a cam lobe, and I don't like the line I see on there. And some of the pistons had carbon buildup, and you can also see in this gasket that there may have been water getting through the seal of the gasket. See the small opening for the air cleaner compared to the throttle body. I don't like that. I want to open that up and make a larger one too. And here is Poppy and Archie, and they are saying thanks for watching our dad's videos. Already clogged at about 20 or so thousand miles, and that's with oil changes. Trying to spot and identify a number on the oil pump. See what I can, if I can find out what it is, whose it is, the pressure, volume. All right. See how the left side here, that's okay. The O-ring will go in here, no problem, it's not broken. But over here, you see it's broken out. So I am looking into either doing a plastic weld or making a new piece out of brass, that same thickness, and replacing that with a brass piece. but I'm not going to get a Dorman intake manifold. Those will cost about 26 horsepower, and they're just not really a good manifold, in my opinion. They work, but at a cost. Another thing I did here too is the see, here is the air inlet for the intake to the engine. So I got rid of that, and I made my own new one here with an 3.5 inch pipe. And what that is two 3-inch couplers, and they are one's cut on the outside and one is cut on the inside, so that they will overlap by about 1/4 inch, and then I ABS glued them together and then they stick just nicely right in through here. You see the pipe down there, and comes up over here. And so now I have a 3.5 inch cold air inlet instead of about a 2 throttle body and the old air intake as Ford made it. The inner circle, the open part, is 2.5 inches, and the outer ring edge is 3.5 inches, and the 3.5 is the size of the new air pipe in, so you can see how much more airflow Y-pipe that is going to eliminate a couple of choke points in the exhaust, and the new Gibson stainless steel headers will further reduce restriction. This is a coolant crossover kit for the back of the heads that is supposed to eliminate heating problems in number 8, 4, and 7. So those are the new springs I'm getting, rated 3,950 pounds, considerably heavier than... And there we go. We have a 13/67 hole. Now let me go get the tap. 12-point box end wrench on it. So we just carefully try to start our threads. And so you go forward, and then you back up to break out the trailing thread. And just so you know, this is, where is it? A Dormer E710 3/8-18 NPT normal HSS. I think that says Brazil. And the part number. So anyway, there you go. From Tacoma Screw Products, a quality, reputable store to get your stuff from. Alright, here's the fitting. Let's see. Okay, that is working. It's right where we want it to be. Right smack in the center there. It's away from the ear and out on the end. Okay. Tape or any of that. I'm just going to use Max Black silicone, ultra black, maximum oil resistant silicone. And let's clean off the excess ookie. Okay, and if you look down there, you can see that everything is looking mighty fine. Okay. And that's what this looks like here. It's got the two plugs on it. They've got the black RTV sealed, and in 24 hours they will be sealed forever. Same with the hose fitting there. And I think I'll maybe just clean that off a little bit better. So what I did is I made these adapters, and these are 1/2 inch aluminum angle, 1/8 inch thick, and 3/4 inch aluminum angle, 1/8 inch thick. So what I did was, on this side here, I trimmed the side of this against the side of that so that they would be the same height. If I didn't do it, this would be about 1/8 of an inch or so lower. So I cut the two so they would fit together like this, and I put a couple of thick aluminum pop rivets in there to hold it. It's nice and strong, sturdy. And then I drilled the hole here, and then you see on the adapter itself, it has a hole here that originally the black cap screw would have gone into that and then screwed into the head here, but that's not going to work. So what I have done is I made up these adapters. So here is the adapter for the left one. Okay, so these adapters fit on like that. And then I've got a 1-inch stainless screw with a washer and lock washer. And I tapped out the hole here with a 8mm by 1.25 thread on it. So this, when I tighten down the nut or the screw, it will compress the lock washer until it is right flush to the bottom there. And then this adapter piece is right flush with the bottom. You might be able to see that there. Okay, and so what'll happen is this will go on, and then I drill a hole for the adapter to screw into the existing hole there, and that should work as a new hold down for this. It screws together very, very solid, very tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, when I assemble this, I'm going to put some Loctite in there, just some regular old blue Loctite, and that will keep the screw, the stainless nut screw, from backing out. But also what I'm going to do is I got to measure this and drill the hole. Let's go for it. Okay, this is going to tell me, but I believe it'll fit in there, so I think we're good to go. So let's now what we're going to do is we're going to hit direct in the center to kind of bow it and relieve the edges a little bit. Okay. Then we're going to tap the side and alright, that is not what was supposed to happen. So, implements of destruction. Stupid thing. I swear. Alright, so this is supposed to be pretty good stuff. Alright, let's shove this puppy on in. Right there. Okay, dead blow hammer. And 9mm or 8mm. No, yeah. What was it? Was it 5? Yeah. Okay. So let's run that on in. Pop our Alright, how's that looking? There's what it looks like up close. Let's see that everything is all sealed up nicely. No gap. No gaps. Very, very solid. So, this stainless steel screw holds the bracket to the crossover modification, and the 35mm long 6mm size goes down into the head there and goes in a little over a half of an inch, and yeah, very nice, very, very nice. I am happy with that. Put this here and position the screw right where it's going to be. Okay. Perfect. fit as tight as I thought it would, but it has the double O-rings, and then it has the okay. Okay. And this is how the water connection will fit, but this is going to be a longer pipe over on this side, and then this will connect into a T going back to the water pump. So I'll have the front hose coming off the crossover tube, and it will be going through the water heater or the heater core, and then the heater core will come out here. And I decided to put this on the intake side of the water pump instead of the outflow side, because I had that boil over it, which caused this engine to overheat to begin with. And part of the problem is the water heater may have become clogged, and it's possible that when the water heater clogged, water was not going back into the water pump, and so we got a boil over. So if I have this on the return side, I'll still get the front end feeding into the water heater and coming back through and meeting up with this in a T, but the heater hose off the front of the engine generally has a reducer in it, and so I'm not going to worry about putting the reducer in there, and it will flow through the water heater unobstructed and then hook up to this. And the water pump is going to want this first, and then the water coming through the water heater off the front of the engine will be second priority, because this is closer to the pump with less restriction, so it's going to get more through it. So anyway, I consider it a safety measure that if I have this, then I'll have two ways of getting water into the water pump, and if for some reason the heater core ever did plug up again, this would always feed into the water pump, so that will prevent any boil over from happening. So just one little advantage to having this setup is the inside of the head view of the MMR coolant modification kits, and you can see the little bit of silicone grease around the edge of it. And I was checking inside the head with my little probe scope to determine if the O-rings were fully seated into the aluminum of the head, or if one was sticking beyond the aluminum and not actually doing anything. So as it is, Both of the O-rings on the adaptation kit are in the aluminum of the head and making a good full double seal. And then I also have the copper gasket material, silicone RTV, on the outside sealing that, which is a very high temperature anti-oil resistant sealant. The measurement on the manifold is 1.43 on the header, that is, and these vary a fair amount. 1.38, 1.4, and 1.4 again. Okay, then we have the collectors, and the cast iron collector is 2.12 and the Gibson header is 2.2, so it's about 1/10 of an inch larger. These are a little bit bigger, or the cast iron has a bigger opening for the exhaust, but if you look into the exhaust, okay, well, look how that narrows down on you in there. Okay, and see how that one narrows down, and this one here narrows down, and the last one narrows down. And let me see if I can get a kind of a gauge on that. So it goes down to a 1.16 with the bolts, but also it reduces down even farther inside there. And if you look at the tube header, these are 1 3/8 or 1.4 all the way through, and actually the pipe is about 1.4 on the inside, 1.5 on the outside. 14 gauge headers, or 16 or 14, I forget what. But so anyway, I guess I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to take a grinder and just round these up a little bit, and I took a gasket put a gasket on here and scratched where the gasket is and is not fitting the head. Area of the collector where the pipes come in is actually larger than 2.5. The pipe that goes to the sealing end of the collector, that's 2.5, and then the actual seal of the collector itself is 2.2 inches, and that goes into a 2.5 or 2.25 pipe. So as you can see, the flex scope is very, very handy for getting in there and seeing things that you would not have been able to see otherwise. Okay, kids, I am cleaning the surface of the heads, so I've given it a good solvent carb cleaner bath, and I have sanded it with some 220 grit with a flat block, and I just finished going over it with some 320. 320's up there. Anyway, so let us check. We're going to use a 2/1000 feeler gauge. I don't know if you can read that or not. There, 2.002 thousandths. And so we just have a nice straight edge here. This here bottom edge has been sanded flat with a true 90-degree angle sanding block, so we know it is true and flat. And we check all along here. And we know that our clearance is less than 2 thousandths, which is really good. Really good. Okay, now check the center. Okay, so that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. Okay, that should make almost any decent mechanic feel frisky, so to speak. Okay, let's see if I can get a straight edge on this way here. Okay, it just isn't going to help me. Alright, let's try this. Okay, and it doesn't even go, doesn't even do anything, so I'm happy with it. Okay, and here's how we're going to do it. Got a 12-inch piece of flat 1x4 fur, and we're just going to sand the top of the block. And of course that's not going to help us. Going to make 4 complete strokes across the top of the block. And we're going to try and hit the camera every time. Okay, so looks like we have a little bit of a low here. And I'll get my straight edge on that here pretty quick. I'll have to climb back out to get that. We have our 2 thousandths gauge, and it doesn't slip under anywhere. So we are good to go. And just look at how nice and shiny as you can see, the heads are nice and clean. I've got that rough down to just nice and smooth. And what's really nice is the heads will go down into on top of the block with the headers on. So that will make things a bit nicer. So I just still have a couple of things I need to do here. Got to sand off the top of the block deck, both sides, and the heads are all nice, polished, and just looking gorgeous. And the feeler gauge, the 2000s gauge, will not slip under the straight edge, so they are perfectly flat. Yeah, the only other thing I have to do is I need to port this and this exhaust a little bit, of 1/8 of an inch on the forward half, 1/8 of an inch on the forward, and I'll call it a crescent actually, and then these two here line up perfect, so we are good to go. I really do not want to have a Dorman intake manifold. They're kind of like junk. They're smaller, they're plastic, they don't have these brass slugs in them for connecting brackets and stuff. This side here looks okay, so why couldn't they make this side like that side so that it would hold up? Because the rest of this could just go at any time, and that's not going to be any good. Sorry if the camera's bouncing. Not trying to make it bounce, it's just kind of in a place where it's going to. I refuse to get the Dorman replacement intake manifold because it's not an improvement, it still leaks. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to keep cleaning this up and working it. You don't need to keep watching this. I'll bring you back when I'm doing the next major step. Okay, kids, we have our piece of aluminum, and so we're going to start trying to make our adapter piece. Alright, we've still got some work to do on it, but we're getting there. Alright, you guys, so here's what I've done. There was an inner ring, and then there's a gasket O-ring that goes there. You see how it is on that side, but this side here, you can clearly see how the inner ring was deteriorating. In fact, all the stuff around it, see, there's a piece of it here, and you see that brown on there, and that's all plastic that is deteriorating. Just, it doesn't even snap, it just kind of like goes apart. So here is my fix for it. 1/8 inch thick, 1/4 inch tall piece of aluminum cut to fit the opening. So I am going to embed this in some the right stuff gasket maker, and this is pretty good stuff. Everybody swears by the great stuff gasket maker. So it's 90 minutes, it has a sealed lid, and so we just take the puncture cap and turn it on there, and presto, we've got a nozzle. Okay, so I'm going to cut the nozzle here and splooge up some stuff for it. Then I'm going to embed it in great stuff. And that should do the job. But the nice thing about this fix is that it doesn't have that fragile inner ring to deteriorate anymore. And I really don't care if I have a gasket maker that glues this crap all together, because I want it to never leak again. That's the main thing. This stuff. Now I've already filed this down flat flush to the manifold. So we are perfectly fine, good to go there. And I'm just making sure that I have the great stuff splooged in and around and over and everywhere to make sure that this baby is forever sealed. Make sure that everything is sealed, sealed, sealed. So everybody who's got one of these stupid Ford intake manifolds guaranteed to screw up on you, I'm pretty sure that this is a forever fix. Okay. So I think we got everything there. Okay, so put the O-ring back in. Now, which way did this go? This way. Okay, so now I need to find the underscrews. Okay. think these are them. Okay. Let's see a little bit splooging on this side here too, but we can see that aluminum ring there, and it ain't going anywhere. Let me clean that out here. Hang on for a minute. All right, so this is what the repair looks like. You can see the aluminum ring in the center. It's the piece there where my shadow is on it in the center. So yeah, this ought to be pretty good. And then I took the grinder and I opened up the aluminum on the port there a bit more to match the gasket, or to match the port itself. And then over on this side here, didn't do the aluminum on this side because the O-ring was good, and what I decided to do was to just put the gasket maker in there. Great stuff, or the right stuff. Okay, so anyway, there you can see the gap is all sealed up here. There's just a let it dry for about an hour and a half, and then finished putting the tightening down on the three screws on each side underneath. And there was a little tiny bit of splooge came out. That's a good one. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Alright, let's go to it. Start on this end, and don't forget your eye protection and your breathing protection. All right. Okay, so we're doing good. Which will be attaching the manifold to the head. Actually, not yet. I still need to sand the bottom of the head, and then we'll be ready to go. Now we are prepping the surface of the left head now. That holds it at 90 there. Okay, so it is pretty much looking very, very good. The only thing I do want to do now is get some 400 grit. Yeah, this is extremely flat. Okay, so this is done. Now I need to find some 400 grit to finish the polishing, but you can see that it is very nicely polished. Hopefully we're getting a focus on that. But that is 320 grit right now. Very, very smooth, very fine lines. But we're going to go a step more. Okay, and these are the scope images after porting, and you can see that the head and exhaust manifold are lined up pretty close. I don't want to have the head port being larger than the header. I want the head to go into, not onto, the intake manifold. And so the head is just a little bit smaller, fits inside of the header tube. And you can see how the porting finished up in there, all the bright, shiny metal beyond the end of the header. So the porting should work out pretty good. Looking forward to getting this engine back together, and it's coming back together pretty quick now. So I hope you enjoyed this video, learning how to port heads, gasket match, and work on your headers, trying to get a little more power out of this engine. Okay, there is the slug for the first passage, coolant passage on the rear of the left head. Okay, so let me get the welder set up there, and we'll go for it. I am going to show you how to weld closed the rear coolant passages on a 5.4 liter Ford modular head. And the reason I'm closing them is that they are a chronic leak problem. A lot of people get leaks out the front and the back of the heads because there's a junk plastic intake manifold that just does not seal. So there you can see what it looks like with the hole welded shut. This here is the right rear head, and I'm going to close that. The round hole doesn't matter. The square one is the one that you need to fill. So you can see the fill piece that I have there with the first tack weld. I've got that little strip of metal in there to hold it flush and in position. And there it is, finished, filed, sanded. Can never even tell it was there. The round hole doesn't matter. Now we want to come up and do the upper one. Okay, and so there is the titanium unlimited 2000 multi-process welder that I got from Harbor Freight, 800 bucks. Here is the MIG gun with a wire spool on it that I'm having so much trouble with. So I gotta figure out why this thing's not working and get it working. All right. And here's another look at the right side head where I patched the coolant passage on that. You see the metal strip I had to hold the patch in place. There's the weld, and there is what it looks like all finished up. Never tell it was ever there. The round hole doesn't matter, doesn't do anything. And there is the welder, the titanium Ultimate 200. Worked great. I need to establish where the header gaskets are lining up with the exhaust ports. Let's smack these down. Okay, now let's lift them up and see what we get. This will tell us where things are. Okay, so you can see that it's actually not too bad. These ports here, they could be brought forward a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that. This port here, you can see it's a little ahead there. This one here is right at the edge here, but I don't want to go further that way because you see these ones back here are kind of right at their edge too. But I think that the best lineup is just the way I had it. So good. Now that I have established the header alignment is good, now I'm going to put them on. Alright, here are the header bolts that I have. On the right is the new shiny stainless steel bolt Gibson supplied with the headers, and on the left is the old stainless steel stud that I bought. So you can see here that the new header bolt is short, and if you look at the bolt you can see some of the aluminum threads it pulled out from the head. So I'm a little bit pissed about that. So I yanked out the Gibson bolts and put back in the old ARP bolt, or the old stainless steel studs, and this is how deep they go in there. You see there's a couple of threads left when you screw them all the way down, and when you screw them all the way down it's about 5/16 or 3/8 of an inch deeper than the Gibson bolt. So the stud goes all the way down, it bottoms out, and the Gibson bolt is 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch too short. It's time to get these COMETIC gaskets on. So I am hoping that these COMETIC gaskets, what fell? Something fell. Oh, vacuum cleaner brush. So I'm hoping these COMETIC gaskets are going to be the bomb on this engine. And the reason is, if you look at them, you see they have that O-ring built into them. They're a 3-layer MLS gasket, and then also they are thinner than the Felpro gasket. These are 0.032 thick, and the Velcros are like almost twice as thick. And just to show you, I'll get the Velcro gasket and hit it with the micrometer to show you the difference in thickness. But these are the MLX gaskets. These are supposed to be the best ones that COMETIC has for the 5.4 liter engine. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully this will do the job. All right, let's get hopping. I'm going to put the 3 head bolts in here on the back of the head, and to be able to get these last 3 in there, the trick is that, see how the heater box, AC box, protrudes into the engine compartment and over the right side of the head, and the trick is that when you put the heads down, you can't stick the head bolts down in there because they are blocked by the heater box. So what we do is I take the bolts, do the last 3 of them here, so we're using ARP head studs, and we are going to put them through here like such. And if you do that, okay, so you want them just a little bit inside the head here so that you don't scratch or do anything on the block. But you see how they are on this side, and then what you do is you take your handy electrical tape, here electrical tape, here electrical tape, come on, electrical tape, where did you go? Alright, well I will find the now hiding electrical tape. Where the heck is that crap? It's like it just disappeared on me. I had it a second ago and now it's gone. Okay, so anyway, you wrap, and the tension holds all 3 of these together and prevents them from sliding down into the hole and blocking you from putting the head on. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now is I'm going to put some lube on the bottom of the bolts here and tape them up, and then we will be ready to install the head. Very exciting. Okay, so we have our studs in. You can see the stud there in the hole. Number 2 and the last one here. And that is what we did. We just taped them together with electrical tape, and they all pull this way and this way and that way so that they all have tension on them. Okay, and then I just finished brake cleaning off the bottom of the head again. We're all set to go, so I'm gonna put the head up over on the front of the truck, put the gasket there, and then I'm gonna hop in and acetone wipe the top of the block, and we're gonna put this baby on. Okay. The block is cleaned out. I got the cylinders blown out, wiped out, vacuumed out, and lightly oiled. Have the deck surface is all brake cleanered off and clean and smooth. So it is time to put this back together. Okay. let's lay our gasket on. Alright, we are good to go. So let's see if I can wrestle the head in place here. Come on, baby. Yeah. There. All right. There. And you see these 3 bolts here that we taped so that we could get them in are just right. Okay. All right. Okay, let's start putting bolts in. So we have the crank locating tool that locks it at top dead center. And then all we gotta do is get the timing guides and chains and gears situated. And we'll be able to get that. Alright, let's put these ones in. Alright, I have a Allen wrench here that's supposed to do this. Okay, so run the studs all the way down and then back them off 1/4 turn as per ARP's instructions. And we have this washer here. Put the grippy side down. And I'm going to lubricate the nut threads and the bottom of the nut. Okay, and these bolts are 11/16. And we're not going to tighten anything here, we're just going to snug it. Just going to snug the head down. Alright, that does that. Okay, now let's get the tape off of these studs back here. We are on. Now I just got to tighten down these ones. Okay, that one's just a little tight to work with. Get a little socket and a universal elbow to get it in a minute. In fact, I should probably just get that now because all of these are a little bit tough to reach. Yeah, I think I'll go get that. Okay, so I will bring you back when it's time to torque things down. In the next exciting episode, see the new torque wrenches be used to assemble the engine, torquing down the heads. Here we have an inch-pound wrench in front and a 3/8 inch torque wrench, and here is the new Icon from Harbor Freight professional split beam torque wrench, and it is supposed to have accuracy to within 3%, and if you see the head of it, it can offset 15 degrees up or down so that you can work around things that get in your way. We're just about to put the left head on the engine. I pre-positioned it up there, and I just noticed that I have it facing the other way. I wanted the header to point towards the back, but that's all right. I'll just lift it and turn it around. There's my ARP bolts and lubricant there, ARP Ultra Torque lubricant. I've got the top of the block deck is all sanded off down to 400, so an RA of 023 as prescribed by COMETIC Gaskets. And all I gotta do is I've already brake cleanered off the bottom of the head, and I just want to brake cleaner off the top of the block here, make sure everything is just as clean as possible. And then we shall be ready to put the left head on the engine, and according to theory, the exhaust pipe should mate with that one fairly well. You can't see what this one here is doing, but maybe you can see it in the video. Turn the light on. Yeah, it's down there somewhere. Yeah, I think the two come together pretty close right here. Alright, let me get going here. So one thing to remember, pull out the dipstick tube. It just pulls right out, and then you put it back in inside of the header towards the block, and then on the head is one bolt hole to mount it to the engine. But all the cylinders are cleaned out, no debris in there, and we are ready to go. So let me get going on this. Let me get the solvent and clean it off. Let's tap this thing in and not let it fly away this time. Okay. All right. This time we're not losing it. Alright, let me go grab the stupid head gaskets. Head gaskets. I'm going to get your butt in there. 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 Where the hell are you? Damn it. Gotta get in there. So, oh, God. Those ones were trying their best not to get in there. Okay. And so now we are going to install the studs in the head, and I called ARP about the latest proper installation because there were a couple of questions about it, and what the recommendation is to turn the studs all the way down until you hit bottom, and then back them off a quarter of a turn. And also, they want you to use the ARP lubricant to cover all the threads and screw it in with the threads covered in lubricant. Make sure that you keep the seats for the washers clean. You do not want any lubricant under the washers, and the washers have kind of a waffle finish under them that will slightly bite into the aluminum to keep it from spinning. And so what you do is you put your washer on dry, and then you take the nut, and you can either put lubricant on the threads, or what I did was I put lubricant on the bottom of the nut and then worked my brush into the threads of the nut and got lubricant all through the threads of the nut with the brush and didn't do the threads. And that way you still get the nut going on with lubricant, but you don't have a whole blob of lubricant that stays in there to mix with your oil, because I guess that it's not a good thing to have the lubrication mixing with the oil, because it has little particulates in it, and particulates are the enemy of Ford modular engines because of the small passage in some of the locations, like the timing chain oiler. Alright, so we are there. I've got a tool to tighten the studs down. Studs all the way down. What I'm going to do is turn them down, then back them off a quarter turn. Then I'm going to put the nuts on, and I'm going to tighten these middle 6 first. And you can see that I've got those all in and tightened, and now I'm putting in the last 2 down there, and then I'll put in the first 2 up here. But I wanted to get the heads snugged down. There's no torque, it's just I turned them down until they were snug, and stop. So maybe 5 or 10 pounds of torque, if that. But I wanted to get the heads down and seated, because when you slide the bolts, studs down, there's the slight chance that some of that lubrication can squeeze off or scrape off in between the head and the block. And I don't know that it is a serious problem, but it's not a problem that you need to have if you don't need to have it. So I tightened the head down, and that closed up any gap between the head and block and the gasket. And the gasket is a COMETIC MLX, and it is quite a bit thinner than the equivalent Felpro gasket that I was going to use that came in my kit. And then also the COMETIC is $163 each for the gaskets. So they're pricey, but what I like about them is they have a double O-ring after. And the
technical difficulty.
Felpro has a single ring or ridge between cylinders. So a full O-ring around each cylinder is better than a single ring. And the COMETIC is also a 3-layer gasket. The Felpro is a 4-layer gasket. So anyway, right now we are I'm just finishing tightening down the studs. I'm going to turn them and then back them off, tighten, back it off a quarter, and get all of those done. Then I am going to put the washers on and the nut. Gotta lubricate the nut and run it down hand tight. Turn it with the socket and extension. Okay, so we are now doing the first torque to 30 pounds, and we're going to follow the ARP tightening method, which is the center 2, and then you go out to the next ones, up and down and crisscross, then finally to the end, each end. So we are going to finish torquing here in just a second, and then I'm going to come back and retorque, because the middle 6 bolts, once you get everything torqued down initially, each bolt, the first bolts hold it down, and then the next bolts hold it down even more precisely, so you're making up for that precision. You'll see I'm going to start on the center one, and you see I'm still at 30 pounds, and I'm getting a couple of angles of turn on each of these studs. So whenever you do that, especially on the first torque setting, you want to just make sure and do the torque a second time to make sure that everybody is equally tight. And sometimes on the first, I think on this one I even did the center bolts a third time. So now I am using my really nice new Harbor Freight Icon torque wrench, and this is a split bar type, $149. And it works really nice. It feels nice, it looks nice, and if you look at the head on there, it allows you to swing the head up or down for obstacle avoidance. So if you are tightening something in there and that long reach arm on the torque wrench is being interfered with by something, you can deflect the bar by 15 degrees to get either above or under whatever the obstruction is. And so I thought that was a pretty good idea. It only tightens, it does not loosen, so do not use this to loosen. They're clear about not using this as a breaker bar to take things apart. It is only a torque wrench, not a breaker bar. A lot of the cheaper torque wrenches, like the one with a rod and a needle that goes to a scale as you are tightening, you can do those either direction. Okay, so I've got 60 pounds done, and I'm resting there for some reason, but okay, I was setting the wrench to go to 85 pounds, and I think I actually set it to 86. And so I'm going to do the same thing here again, run everybody down, and then come back to the center and retighten those. I actually run out of memory card here in just a minute, and so I do finish the initial or the final torque here at 85 pounds, but I'm not going to have any more memory card left to show coming back and going over things a second time to make sure that everything is at 85 pounds. But yeah, I sure do like this torque wrench. That is really nice. Okay, there I am going over things a second time, and you can see that it's good. Okay, I'm trying to put the heater hose on the adapter back here. And good, everything is just right. Yep, good, everything clears. What we got here? Okay, that's good. What's this side doing here? Okay, that is good too. I am just reusing the old Ford coolant return tube. It didn't have a leak or anything, so I just put in a couple of new O-rings. Got a good fit, and I also, there's 1, 2 O-rings. And then I put a third one at the end of the tube and put a bunch of silicone right stuff gasket maker over it, and then pressed it on in, and you can see the 2 tabs. It is all the way back here. So it pushes all the way back and firm against the back of the water pump. And so there is a bevel at the end of this tube, and that O-ring sinks down into that bevel as it compresses, and it's got right stuff gasket maker over it, and then I put more gasket right stuff over that. So we have this is what I did last time, and it worked good. Never had a leak out of this. And I tell you, I just everything about this engine tells me be careful, it's going to leak oil or water. See how we have our rear coolant crossovers are welded shut. That's 2 more leaks that will never happen, and they're the exact same thing. This one here is the same as the one there, and this one here is the same as the one back there. Notice the round hole is still there. Here's where the round hole is there, and the block doesn't, it's unused back here, but up here you see it is part of the block. So up here you need it. We are going to install a new Melling 176 HV high volume oil pump. This is the oil pump that came with the new crate motor that I installed a couple of years back. It's just the standard 176 pump. So there are three 8mm bolts along the top of the pump to loosen up. And so I cracked them loose here, and then before I completely loosen things up, I'm going to remove the oil tube, which is at the bottom right. And to remove that oil tube, you need to get a flexible end ratcheting combination wrench, 8mm size. So there's the old pump there. You can see the 176 part number on it. Now I'm going to show you the new pump with the 176 HV for the high volume pump. And it's in that shiny little oval section at the top left. So Melling 176 HV, and then I put the lower pressure spring in. You see on the right side there's a short little tube on top, and that's where the spring that you remove is, and replace it with the lighter purple spring. So to get the pump back on, there is the crank has two flat sides on it, and you need to line the pump wheel inside the pump with those two flat spots before it will slide on. And it's a little bit of a trick to do it because you can't see it to line it up. You just kind of have to give it your best guess to line up. And so I put, I'm messing with it. You see I'm turning the pump a little bit there to try and get it lined up. And so after about 15 minutes of trying, I finally got it to slip on to the crank and against the block, and now I'm going to bolt it in. Put your new O-ring on the pickup tube and then start screwing it back together. So now I'm going to grab the gear I think this time I used the gear wrench. Same thing, heavier duty, and I tape the swivel into position to be able to screw it up into the pump, and then also tape on the base of the screw to hold it into the socket so that it doesn't fall away. So I'm going to show that to you here in just a second. Okay, so there you can see the I'm just finishing wrapping the tape. Here we go. So there you see how I have it taped together, and that way the screw's not going to fall out, and I have the angle to get it into the hole and start screwing it in. So after this, it was pretty surefire to get the sump tube screwed into the pump, and then we screw the three screws into the block holding the pump. And there is a fourth screw that holds the pump to the block, and that is at the bottom of one of the timing chain guides. So that's basically it. It's not a tough job, and you just need to get that one flex end wrench to be able to do it. Put the cloth on the bottom, and you're good to go. This is a crankshaft positioning tool, and you want to put the tool over the crank using the keyway, and on the arm is a pin that you use to locate that. Dead center, you can verify with the intake valve being closed.
We are going to put the new timing chains in, and to do that we need to find the shiny or dark links. Okay, here's a shiny link, and so you'll hold it like that, and at the other end there should be two more shiny links. See how these two are shinier than the ones below it. Okay. Okay, and that is how you want that. See how the shiny link is straight down from the timing mark. Okay. And we have these two shiny links go one on either side of this timing mark. Okay. Okay, so that chain is on. And then we want to do the same thing with the other one. So let us find the shiny links. Okay, there's the two. And at the bottom will be the one. Yep. Okay. Alright, kids, there you go. Timing chain is on both sides. See, there are the two shiny links and the timing mark there. And in here, you see the timing mark there, and then the shiny links should be one right in front of the other. And then you go over this side, and you see our shiny links are between, or the timing mark is between the two shiny links. So we are good to go. This is all set. It's getting dark. Alright, you can see we have the timing chain back in, the left and right timing chain, and the timing chain tensioners and the timing chain guides. So there is the tensioner there. Let's see how we have the two brighter links with the timing mark centered between the two of them, and also over on this side you can see the two slightly shinier links, and the timing mark is between them. Yep. And then you see the timing chain guides and the tensioner there. Tensioner has an R for the right in it. Over here, timing chain guides, and this one has an L in it. Excuse me. And down below you see the crank position sensor gear. It's actually not a gear, it's a it just has a bunch of teeth on it, and the cam position sensor senses the teeth. Okay, so let's pull that off real quick and set it where it won't fall, and then look up under here and you can see the two shiny links. That are centered on the timing mark. So it makes it very easy to time this engine. All you have to do is line up the links and the marks, and it just happens automatically. Alright, so that's it. Okay, so now bolts 1 through 5, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go to 15 pounds. The rest of them are all larger bolts. They go to 35. So just these 5 kind of central bolts, and then everything are 18, and then or 15, and then the rest go to 35. Understand that? Not too tough. Okay. So let me get going on it. So I'm all ready to just do these ones. I can tighten them down. And then I'll bring them up to torque. Okay. And I can tell these are going to want to get a retorque. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, so these I can bring down to initial torque. Okay, that's it. One more here. Okay, and then the rest of them I need to get a socket and bring those to torque. All right. Okay, so we have got the plumbing finished in the engine area here. So you can see these are the 1/2-inch lines that come up off of the MMR Racing coolant adapters for the back of the heads. So there's the other one over here. And it is coming up and across. I had to make my own barbed T fittings because I couldn't find suitable fittings. So we got 1/2-inch brass T, and actually it's a 3/8-inch brass T with 3/8 by 1/2-inch barbed fittings on it. This is a 3/8 T with 3/8 by 5/8 barbed fittings. And so the hoses draw coolant up and into here, and it goes around into the valley hose or tube and into the water pump. And then this one here is from the heater core. So you have this one here goes in over to the water heater core, and then comes back out through here into this, and in this T here it combines with the coolant adapter here on the right and the coolant adapter on the left. So they come together here, they combine, and that hose takes it around over to the tube and back to the water pump. So one thing that's nice about this is that if for some reason the water heater core ever plugs again, or if the piece in the manifold breaks off and comes up into the hose and plugs the hose,
it will still always be able to get coolant from the back of the heads, so it'll never have a water heat boil over condition again, because it's got two sources providing coolant back to the water pump. So here's another thing that we got going is, remember I welded the back of the heads, and then there was just some questionability about the quality of the welds on the heads. So what I did is I cut and shaped a couple of flat aluminum slugs that are exactly the same thickness as the plastic on the gasket, and I'm just siliconing them into the holes where the welded up coolant ports are, and so that's just a little added protection. The intake manifold will screw down over them and hold them down flat, and they have Right Stuff gasket maker between them and the head, and then between them and the gasket, and then again between them and the intake manifold. So they're encapsulated in Right Stuff. And then up here I am putting Right Stuff around the coolant ports up here, just because it always leaks. So I'm going to try and do something that will maybe positively stop it from leaking. And anyway, so we are set. I'm going to go grab the intake manifold now and put it on. But yeah, things are looking good. Headers are on. Run the right side here too, you can see them there. Alrighty. Alright. This is going to be fun. I can just tell right now. All right, we are putting the intake manifold on. I put a little fresh Great Stuff or Right Stuff gasket maker on the front two water jacket ports for the aluminum crossover. Make sure that those are sealed. That's the weakest point on this engine now. Since I welded up the water ports on the backs of the heads, those are never going to leak again. So right now we are tightening down the intake manifold. Got all the bolts are in place, and we're going to just hand tighten them down, and then I'll hit them up with the torque wrench. We will be connecting the fuel lines here. We have a new Motorola fuel pressure regulator. You see that round piece on the fuel rail, and then the coolant lines. Still have to do a little bit of messing around with those, get them set up properly, measure and cut. But they do end up working beautifully. The engine is it never goes above 174 degrees, even though I have a 180 degree thermostat in the engine. Then I also have that larger 1.5-inch core aluminum radiator. So with the head cooling adapters on the backs of each of the heads and the new plumbing, and then that heavy duty red industrial gauge heater hose, the cooling system is good to go. I'm not going to worry about that again. And I really doubt that we'll ever have another leak from the front of the cooling system. The back will never leak again, that it's welded up. And hopefully there will be no oil leaks or compression leaks. It's just a tough engine to prevent some sort of leak from occurring. Okay, so we're going to finish this up. 3/4 inch coming up off of the intake manifold. And you see there is my stainless steel adapter to press down on the other side of the crossover tube, because Ford screwed up. They put a bolt there and a bolt back here. See, just below the injector. So you've got this about a 5-inch gap where there's no bolt, and so it tends to leak on the inside between the first cylinder intake and the crossover tube, and that stainless steel bar presses down and keeps the pressure on there. The compression numbers went up quite a bit. I had some 185s and 195s. And after the COMETIC head gasket, everything is above 200. The minimum being 200, and most of them being 205 to 215, and there's one at 220. So the compression went up, and it's probably about 10.5 to 1 now. Power seems to have gone up quite a bit. I drive the thing, and it just runs beautifully with the ported exhaust and the headers. Okay, so I need to make room for what's going on in here. And so this pipe is going to come over in this area here somewhere. So I'm going to cut this pipe out of here first so that I can get some space. I've got my Sawzall here with a diabolo blade, and hopefully this will cut it quick. Okay, good. I scratched it, but I didn't screw up the oil pan, so that's good. Alrighty. I guess I'm going to have to take this one in 2 steps, because I can't get to it otherwise. Okay. Okay, so now I need to get this one here. And there's nothing behind, nothing up there.
Nothing but nothing.
You see how much nicer it fits up into the oil pan, and also it makes it so you can remove the transmission without having to remove the exhaust. So this is looking inside of the collector back by the flange, and there's the two 2¼ inch pipes coming in. You see at the bottom there that ridge or rim of the pipe sticks up about 1/4 inch. So I took a Sawzall and I cut 4 cuts into it, and I bent them down using a C-clamp, and then I welded them and then took the grinder to them and smoothed them out, and I got rid of a big blockage in there, getting rid of that 1/4 inch lift in the pipe. So there you see the new pipe versus the old pipe, that ridiculous mess of extra pipe and turns and 180 degrees, and so much nicer, such a better design. You can get the transmission out without having to remove the exhaust, and very happy with it. It sounds a little bit different. There's definitely a upward shift in torque and power. And there's one of my welds on the joints. Not the best welds, but I make do.
Metal, I've got a lot of splatter on it. Not the prettiest welds in the world, but they'll work. They seal. For some reason, the flange was the hardest part. I don't know if it's like a dissimilar alloy or something, but so yeah, anyway, we got it all. One other thing I had to do too was on the inside of the flange, I had to the bottom there where you see the welding, that was sticking up, and I was just looking at how that was going to be a blockage. So I took the Sawzall and I cut slots into it, and then I bent them each over and then welded the seams back up, and now it conforms to the curve. It doesn't have a lip that sticks up anymore. So okay, that is it. Let us make it happen. Bigot So number 1. And here we go, boys and girls. Oh, excuse me. I have finished. So you can see the headers up top. Very quiet. There's the oxygen sensor with anti-seize on it. The flanges for the exhaust are nice and tight, they fit well. There's the right side header. Welds look a little bit like chicken scratch, popcorn. It's kind of the metals were, I guess, dissimilar or something, but anyway, I got it all welded up. So here is the flange. There's the catalytic converter back there. Here is the Y. That Y is kind of a thing that is a big power boost. There we go, there's the Y. So it goes from 2 2¼ inch pipes into 1. So the ride height is equal in all four corners. And there's the right side oxygen sensor, and the bolts up there, those are hard to reach. There's no room to get to them. So anyway, so that's it. I'm very happy with how it turned out. There's a definite change in performance when you get rid of that 180 and put on this Y. Alright, let me show you the engine compartment now. Okay, so I also painted my bumper and grille. That is metallic stainless. And I still have to paint the headlight bezel on both sides. That's the old color, that's the new color. I think the new color is way better looking. Okay, so there is my pure power alternator, 250 amps. So that's going to be quite a nice thing for the truck camper. That'll give us all the power we need. Okay, so I had to grind off the boss for the bolt there because the back of the alternator was hitting it and causing it to lean forward a little bit and possibly twist to the right. So I took the angle grinder and ground that down, probably up to about, might be even 1/4 of an inch at the most. But, so anyway, that gives me clearance. And it's okay to do that as long as you're on this side of the threads. You don't want to go into the crossover area, but if you're on the threads, no big deal. Alright, so now you can see that it's not touching the crossover tube anymore. Okay. Yeah, we got about a 1/16 of an inch of clearance, which that should be good. Yeah. Let's see what kind of stress motion this takes. Oh yeah, if I push on this thing, it doesn't move at all. Alright, so there you go. Gotta grind off a little bit of the boss on the back there up to maybe 1/4 of an inch, and then you'll be done. You have to remove the rear mount bracket for the stock alternator because the new one just doesn't take it, and leave the bolts in place because you may need that. Leave the bracket connected to your old alternator or put it in storage where you can find it. And hang on, let me pause this for a second. I gotta clean the lens. Alright, much better. So, see the big manifold, no signs of leakage in front of the crossover tube. Remember, the back of the crossover tube has the back of the heads. I welded the coolant passages shut, so those will never leak again. Back here you can see the close for the rear coolant adapter on the back of the head, which will let coolant, it gets rid of the hot spots in the head. I've got these heavy duty red industrial hoses for all the heater stuff off the intake manifold is 3/4. This is 5/8. So I have this pressure gauge here. You can see the pressure's sitting right around almost 5. And when you get going, you can see that your water pressure goes up to 20 at about 3,000 RPM. And so that's why I've got the heavy hoses, and then also why I put so much work into sealing the crossover tube in the front and rear. And if you want to learn more about that, I've got videos already up for that explain the whole process. You just have to watch and learn. Back there you see the other red hose going to the crossover adapter on the back of the left head. Same thing on the right head. They meet in the middle, and forward to where that there is. And what happens there is you have the water coming from the heater core. This pumps to the heater core, this returns from the heater core, and that T goes to the return tube to the water pump, and the water pump is right there into the fan pulley. And so the coolant adapters on the back of the head, they come up from the other side and connect to the T there, and those are being drawn into the water pump too. So we have lots of coolant moving through the heads and all through the engine. And what else we got?
Here are the coolant adapters. This is the right head coolant adapter on the rear of the head. And we're going to look over here at the left side coolant adapter. Those have half-inch hoses on them. They're going to come up the firewall and to a T there in the center. And the T, the adapters come in with half-inch hose, and the T hose comes out with 5/8, where it hooks into another T with the hose in the center coming from the heater core, and the hose to the left going to the coolant return tube. You see that black tube there, and it goes down into the valley and back up to the water pump. And so what I believe is happening there is the water pump is pumping coolant into the front of the heads, and the rear coolant adapters are sucking water out from the back of the heads. And so what happens is, because it is drawing water out from the back of the head, it lowers the pressure in the crossover tube. So it may actually help extend the life of the seals through lower pressure.
Water pump, and the water pump is right there into the fan pulley. And so the coolant adapters on the back of the head, they come up from the other side and connect to the T there, and those are being drawn into the water pump too. So we have lots of coolant moving through the heads and all through the engine. And what else?
So we got the new high volume Melling 176A HV oil pump, the Melling timing chain, tensioners and chain guides, the Gibson headers, the 3.5-inch cold air inlet, adapted to the factory stock manifold. And what else we got? I think that's probably pretty much it. Let's walk on back here. You can take a listen to what the exhaust sounds like. It's nice there are no leaks coming out of the pipe I welded. Always a nice thing. You can see nothing but water, steam. Very, very clean running truck now. It sounds good. And of course, here are the rear 6+1 leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus the one on the bottom. Then I have the Firestone airbags. That is a Napa. It's supposed to be a stainless steel muffler, but it sure isn't looking like it's stainless. Wrench 9000 shock absorbers. And these are the front springs. See, they're 3-leaf. 2,950 pounds rated. The rear ones are 4,400 pounds rated. And then again, wrench 9,000 up front. I've got the big sway bar. They got a big rear sway bar too. Sway bars make this thing handle really well for a truck. Still have to install my ditch lights. Those are really good for when you're going down forest roads and you want to see what's to the right of you or to the left of you that is in the dark because your headlights don't shine over that way. There's those headers. So I am really looking forward to getting the camper loaded on and taking a trip and seeing how this thing runs with the camper and what kind of money to get. Here's the left one. Ranchos, that, and the header. Well, yeah, this engine sounds just great. Look how smooth that thing is. No vibration, nothing. Just a smooth purr.